Emergency podcast. The Mariners trade for Randy Arozarena. We'll break it all down.
Here's your guys' reminder before we start the show. Make sure to download these episodes. Leave us a 5-star review. Leave a written review. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And then check us out on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube Shorts at Marine Layer Pod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer Podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network. Recording late at night, July 25th. There is hope for the Mariners offense. They have traded for Randy Arozarena, and the trade deadline is off and underway. Let's go!
TJ, I got to tell you, for the first time in weeks, I have a will to live again. A will to live. After weeks of watching an incompetent offense, a real bat is coming to town. It's Christmas in July. Let's go.
Randy. Woo! Let's go. Oh, my God. How bad did they need this? How bad? God. So nice. So it's like, this is literally exactly what they need. Exactly what they need in a corner outfield spot for what we have been subjected to all of this season to bring this dude in. And, oh, hey, Lyle, I hear sources tell me he likes hitting dingers in T-Mobile Park.
Well, he almost won the Derby there last year, so yeah. And he can hit there. Like, his numbers in T-Mobile Park are pretty good throughout the course of his career so far. We can get into all that in a minute, though. I'm just trying to take another minute to just, celebrate this for a second. You said this is what they needed. Not just the team. The offense needed it. The pitchers needed it. The coaches needed it. The front office needed it. The fans needed it. The media needed it. Everybody needed it. The whole region. We could not bear to watch that product for another game. Just couldn't do it. And now we're here. We're here. They went out. They got a bat. They got a real bat. And all of a sudden, vibes have been picked up again. Thank goodness.
Can I pick up a line from one of my favorite series? You see that? You see this with Randy? It's hope. And playoff optimism, Lyle, is built on hope. 100%.
Rebellions are built on hope. Am I right?
Rebellions to win the World Series and rebellions against shitty offense.
That's a Jyn Erso line from Rogue One, but rebellions are built on hope. So, whoa, thank goodness.
Thank God. Yeah.
I think I'm ready to talk baseball, but I needed to get that out of my system. I really did.
You're gonna watch tomorrow's game with a smile now.
I actually might. Now, if they lose, I'll probably go back to being just all pissed off, but well,
first pitch, it'll be a smile because it was not going to be a smile. When we recorded what we were actually supposed to release tomorrow morning on Friday, earlier today, there was not going to be a smile on your face.
No, there was not. And now there will. Side note for people, the podcast we recorded for what was scheduled to be Friday, we'll put it out on Saturday instead. We still get into some stuff that we think will be pretty interesting, but that's a time for another day. Let's talk Randy Arozarena.
This is a good fit. We're talking about fit. Think of this from what one of the Mariners' biggest cruxes have been in the lineup this season. Right-handed production has been terrible. The production up and down the lineup has been pretty shit, but right-handed production is overall just really not been good. Here are your right-handed hitters in this lineup this year, Lyle. Julio at a 101 WRC+, Mitch Garver at an 84, Ty France at a 96, Mitch Garver at an 85. Randy Arozarena, since June 1st, has a WRC+ of This might break your brains based on what we've watched this season. 166.
You see this smile on my face? Yeah. This is an authentic smile. This is authentic. Like, you saying that is just bringing joy into this microphone. I could cry. I really could cry. So
166.
So there may be some of you out there that say, well, his season numbers for a whole really aren't very good. He's barely hitting over 210. He didn't get off to a great start. That's all true. But let's, remember who Randy Arozarena has been most of his career. He's been an all-star bat. And let's look at, more importantly, what he has done in the last 2 months. Like you said, a 166 WRC plus. If you want to break it down month by month and just look at the OPS, in June he hit 291 with an 893 OPS. So far here in July, he's hit 288 with a 949 OPS. Like, nobody on this team can say that right now. Nobody.
Yeah, I'm shocked if you just added up all the OPSs in the Mariners lineup from the last two Angels series, I don't think combined would reach what Randy has done this month. I don't think so. It is honestly staggering how much better Randy has been since June 1st than every single other player in this Mariners lineup. But goodness gracious, hopefully he feels comfortable in that lineup because he's going to have to produce a lot.
Yeah, he is. And you would hope when Julio gets back, because Julio shouldn't be out too long. And they, like Justin Hollander talked about that, Service talked about that, Julio himself talked about it. Shouldn't be too long of an IL stint. So you would hope when he gets back, Julio being in the lineup takes some pressure off Randy, and hopefully Randy being here helps Julio continue the hot streak he was actually on a little bit before he got injured, but also take some of the pressure off. We talked about this with Ty months back, or not months back, maybe a month and a half ago. Ty Dan Gonzalez, our friend from the Locked On Mariners podcast, about finding a Robin to Julio's Batman. They have been totally unsuccessful in trying to do that so far. Could Randy Arozarena be Robin? He's got a chance. We won't bank on anything with how bats have fared in Seattle over the last few years, but does he have a chance? Yeah, he has a chance.
Has anyone asked Randy about the batter's eye?
No. Can we just not ask him?
Well, I feel like if it was an issue, you wouldn't have to ask him. He'd just tell you.
Yeah, probably. That's probably right.
But I think that's fair. A Robin. That's what Randy has been. He's on a solid team, could be a best player, and on a great team, he might be a second best player. I think a lot of people remember him from the World Series run he had with Tampa Bay in 2020. But ever since that moment, he's really just been such a model of consistency at the plate. 127, 124, and 126 WRC plus the last three seasons. That's about as consistent as it gets. The strikeout numbers, which I know some people might be concerned about, are actually pretty moderate compared to the rest of the Mariners. And he's walking over 10% of the time, too. Last two seasons, he's done that. That's at 11% this year. Adds quite a lot to this lineup that they don't have. Comparatively, not a lot of swing and miss, gets on base, crushes homers, and produces offensively. If he can just keep up this hot stretch for 2 more months, please, just let his first 2 months offset the rest of an insanely hot season. And let you know that Randy Arozarena right now is, in his prime as a hitter. He's 29. So this should be the Goldilocks zone for Randy Arozarena as an offensive player. And oh, by the way, you get him for 2.5 seasons. 2.5 seasons.
I was hoping you weren't going to say it so I could just let it scream into the microphone. But just yet another thing that brings such a smile on my face. We've been talking about all these potential rentals. We've been talking about how do they find offense. They get 2.5 years of Randy Arozarena. 2.5 years of them. Amazing. I haven't felt an upswing in mood like this in I don't know how long. Just all of it combined. Plain awesome.
The trade package isn't quite what they gave up for Luis Castillo, but Off the top of my head, this is among the most impactful bats they've acquired. I mean, this might be a slight bit above Teoscar Hernandez. I think Teo in Toronto was a little more up and down than Randy has been in Tampa Bay in terms of quality of bats. Like, off the top of my head, I mean, in terms of going out there and getting a guy with this much consistency, like Polanco was pretty consistent, but not the year before he came to Seattle. Randy had a great year last year. In fact, last year was the best year offensively, I think, as a complete offensive season of his career. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else come to mind?
No, those are the most impactful hitters they've tried to trade for. That's for sure, at least in the Dipoto era.
And you could say signing Mitch Garver, too, and Mitch Garver, hasn't really worked out in his first 4 months as a Mariner, even though, again, he came off the best season of his career last year as well. You know what this tells me? Mm-hmm. That this amount of aggression, it's similar to the Castillo one. I said this to you before recording. Like, everyone understands there's jobs on the line here if stuff like this does not get done and monumental improvements aren't made to the roster. Mm-hmm. Like, seriously, in a less serious situation, it would be very easy to, you could add around the margins. You could pack it in. You could say, look at all these hitting prospects we have. Our core will just evolve as the years go along. But we don't need to do something like this. Like, look, the Rays have had more postseason success than the Mariners, but usually they're the ones trading away players like this, not acquiring them. Mm-hmm. And it says something that the Mariners at this point, at this deadline, finally in the Jerry Dipoto era, at the deadline when they have a dire need for another bat, are willing to go out and swing for one. That says a lot.
Yeah, it does. I thought of one other bat, by the way, that you could argue was more impactful in terms of an acquisition than this deal, acquiring Randy. It was when they got Gene after he had the 200 hit season. So maybe that one was more, and they had to give up Ketel. But that's the only other one that comes to mind.
Yeah. This is important.
Do we want to talk a little bit about who they gave up? So they gave up Aiden Smith. They gave up Brody Hopkins. Two guys that are not in their top 10, but two guys that, one, have been throwing the ball really well in terms of Brody Hopkins, hitting the ball really well in terms of Aiden Smith, and Smith's been on a hot streak here. And also, at least according to what Ryan Divish tweeted out tonight, the Mariners said it was painful for them to give these guys up. Do you have any thoughts on that?
And certainly for a reason. They've been really high on Aiden Smith. I think they thought Aiden Smith, when they picked him in the 4th round last year, deserved to be picked higher than he did based on his talent and how they evaluated him. And even when you had the 3 first-round picks, a lot of people kept coming back to Aiden Smith as, hey, you got to watch out for this kid. And he certainly proved it here in his first full season. He's got an on-base percentage over 400. He's played all over the place in the outfield down in Modesto. He's been just really, really solid getting drafted as a youngster there in Modesto coming out of high school. He's had a really good first full season in the Mariners org. And Brody Hopkins, I'll give a shout out to him because we did our On the Farm segment in our episode that now will be released tomorrow that I highlighted Brody Hopkins, who's coming off one of his best months as a pro. He had a 1.72 ERA in July, and he's also been really raved about within the Mariners organization. Unfortunately for them, here's how I frame this. While both these guys are very good prospects, not blue chip, but good prospects in the Mariners system that one day could contribute to a big league roster if things pan out for them. Unfortunately for them, and maybe fortunately for the fan base who maybe has a less emotional investment in prospects, none of them were the best prospects at their own position, or even second best in some cases. So it makes it a little easier if you look at it in that sense to let go of these guys. It impacts the depth, but overall, for 2.5 years of Randy Arozarena, 100 times out of 100 you do this trade.
Yeah, especially when you look at it like this. Now, I understand they were drafted where they were drafted, and ultimately these guys have turned out to be very good and had very good minor league seasons so far. But if you want to look at it in like a very basic nutshell, you drafted these two guys in the 4th and the 6th round last year, just a year ago, and you turned that into Randy Arozarena. If I were to tell any Mariners fan, the Mariners essentially had to forfeit their 4th and 6th round picks in 2023 in exchange for Randy Arozarena, would we find one single person that said no to that? Now, it's not perfect apples and oranges because, again, Aiden Smith's been really good, and he is really good. Brody Hopkins is throwing the ball great, and I think the Mariners really, really like him. But again, if you want to look at it in a very basic nutshell, 4th and a 6th rounder for Randy Arozarena, I think most people are taking that. 2.5 years of Randy.
As we said, this year matters. Aiden Smith and Brody Hopkins will be big leaguers maybe in 2027, which would be fine for them. Well, the Mariners need to win in 2024. And if Randy Arozarena is available and he fills an immediate need on your roster, you put the stamp down, you shake Eric Neander's hand, and you get it done. I'm curious who the player to be named later will be. I don't know how long it's going to take to name that. And it could be painful depending on who it is, but we don't know who it is right now. So there will be a third player going along in this trade. We just don't know exactly who it is right now. But everyone else can sit here with a smile on their face that here on Thursday, July 25th, Randy Arozarena is a Seattle Mariner.
Yes, he is. Let's do the arms cross. I'm going to start doing it a lot. Oh, it's good. Man, Randy Arozarena is so much fun too. That's we haven't even talked about that yet. He's so much fun. And that's going to be a really, really cool element to have to this Mariners club because
we've talked about the personalities of the corner outfielders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Randy's got yeah, he does. He's got a personality. We'll have to see what he's like on the mic. Hopefully we get him at some point.
That'll be good.
But
so do we have any let's see if we have any details on will he be in Chicago tomorrow?
We haven't looked yet. Again, we hopped on pretty quick after this trade happened. But I was going to say, to your point, in terms of the player to be named later, if you're listening to this, I would expect the player to be named later is not going to be anybody bigger name-wise than the two that were already given up. Maybe it's somebody you'll recognize. Maybe it's a lottery ticket. But it should not be anybody bigger than Aiden Smith and Brody Hopkins. Those seem to be the headliners back. The player to be named later will probably be somebody lower down the pipeline. They're not giving up Johnny Farmello in this trade or somebody like that. They're just not.
Would you like to guess what number of trade this is for Jerry with the Mariners?
Wait, I know this because, again, we not only quizzed him about it, but we've looked at our friend Jordan Schusterman's Excel sheet with the trades.
I was going to say, he just tweeted out which number it is, and I just saw it.
Can I guess?
Yeah, you can guess.
170.
Nice. You got it.
It's a great night, boys. It's a great night. Okay, I knew they were at 167 entering the year because that's what we asked. That's what we asked Jerry in spring training. Is like, can you guess the exact number of trades you've made? I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure it was 167 at the time, and they must have made a couple trades in between because they traded for Mike Baumann, and I'm blanking on one other. I'm blanking on it.
Yeah,
Robles doesn't count, but I thought I was going to get that pretty close. Let's go.
Nice job.
I know. It's
a new day.
You should hear the difference in tones between this podcast and the one we recorded earlier. Hey, if you want to listen to the other one again, tune in when we release it on Saturday. But
does that mean the Mariners can score a run against Garrett Crochet on Sunday?
Possibly. They still don't have Julio. They still don't have some other guys. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. So this is the final piece of this conversation before we wrap this podcast up, because these reactionary pods are usually 25 minutes or so. They're not crazy long. There's only so much to talk about. They better not be done. That's the key here. They're not just the Mariners front office and just organization. They're not just out of the woods yet. You cannot make this one trade and say, call it good. Now, again, you don't have to trade for Vladdy, but I am going to keep circling back to all the names I've talked about. Like Lane Thomas. You could still use more outfielders. Michael Conforto. I know you just made a trade with the Rays, but is Brandon Lau available? Is Nico Horner available? Jazz. If you got Randy and Jazz at this deadline, what a deadline. And then hopefully one other bat with it. Like, there are still guys out there they need to be targeting.
So here's the thing about this trade. You achieve the goal of this, what this front office has preached for so many years, is which they want to continue to get better currently and in the future, which this Randy Arozarena trade does. This opens up so you can get more rentals. We've been preaching rentals before, but it sells itself so much more now that you've already got Randy, and you already know Randy's going to be on your roster next year and the year after that, hopefully producing at an all-star level, that you can go out there and now acquire the rental bats you need to really supplement your roster and feel less bad about, are we adding enough to our 2025 roster? Well, the Mariners have made about as significant an impact to their 2025 roster as they could, unless they were to go trade for Vlad Guerrero Jr. or Luis Robert. Those would probably be the only more impactful, or Isaac Paredes, I would say, the only guys who could bring more impact to your 2025 roster than trading for Randy Arozarena. Okay, so you've done that. So now, going and getting a Michael Conforto should make you feel less guilty about maybe neglecting next year, which you also want to win as well, in terms of worrying about this lineup this year and the lineup next year. Well, your lineup next year is now better, so now let's put a little bit more resources into this one and worry about the next one. Because, as you said, 3 bats at this deadline. Randy Arozarena is a third of the way there. So we're not quite declaring the season over yet. 2 more bats, and the season lives on.
And if they want to acquire more, great. They get 4 at the deadline, awesome. A couple of them are smaller tier bats, that's fine. But go ahead, acquire some rentals. Or if you really don't want to acquire rentals, Jazz Chisholm has 2.5 years of club control too. You could go get him. He's not going to cost that much. That'd be a pretty good deadline. You get Randy, you get Jazz, and throw in one more. Could you get Lane Thomas? Could you get 1.5 years of Lane Thomas? That's a good deadline.
Nico Horner. Go get your shortstop.
Yeah. Or if you really want to do the half a year of Michael Conforto. But go make more moves. You've got, listen, people are feeling high on life tonight, right? People are very happy about this trade, as they should be, and we are too. But if this is all they do at the end of the deadline, it's going to wane, and people are going to be a little disappointed. Now, it's not going to be the same disappointment as it would have been had they done absolutely nothing, but I think a lot of people would say this is not enough. What do we say? One bat does not fix this offense. Randy Arozarena is going to help. There's no doubt. He does not fix it. You need 2 more to go, like you said, for us to not declare this season over.
How many teams do you think Jerry jumped for Randy Arozarena? Like, the deadline's coming, but it's a little early, I feel like, for a piece like that. Like, did he really move his, queen into attack position on the chessboard to get this done?
I don't know, but there's 5 days to go before the deadline ends. It's not that early.
Well, some teams wait. So, snooze, you lose.
Well,
I'll say the Mariners weren't the only team checking out the league OPS this year that could have used Randy Arozarena.
I was talking to a couple people today, just talking Mariners with them, and they were actually saying Jerry needs to jump the line. He needs to make the first move. Mm-hmm. Don't get caught falling behind.
Yep.
And I agreed with them. I said, that's a great point.
And that's exactly what he did.
He was first in line. He jumped the line. He made it happen, which is great. Don't wait around. But now, stay in attack mode. Go do more. And we just saw, you do not have to give up your Colt Emersons to make an impact. The Mariners just gave up 2 prospects in their 10 to 20 range. And they got Randy Arozarena. You can do this thing. You can go get more impact without having to give up your blue chippers. You really can. So keep your foot on the gas pedal, please. Because if you can just be a league average offense, they can still do this. The Mariners, if they can just get into the playoffs, they can still do this. They can still make a run, but they've got to get there, and they've got to be league average. They cannot be what they've been so far this year.
The checklist for the next 5 days: 2 bats and a bullpen arm.
I agree. I honestly think the bullpen arm has to come last, and I agree that they need one, but like it's so utterly important to go get the bats first.
Yeah.
So
Well, it has been a good night, dog. It has been a good night. Go to sleep with a smile on your face tonight. You are going to smile. You're going to look up at the ceiling. You're going to smile, and you're going to know there's hope.
there is hope. Can I just
One more, Randy. Let's do it.
one more Randy?
Randy.
Whew. That is a joy right there. It really is. All right, people. It has been a very, very not fun couple weeks, but you know what? For the first time in what feels like an eon, even though it hasn't been that long, we have hope in Mariners land. We have hope, and it can keep rising. So let's watch it keep rising. Let's keep the foot on the gas pedal. Let's make some more trades. They can still do this. Today was a very, very good start. So that just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. You want to listen to the full form podcast, you can do so wherever you get your audio pods. Make sure to download. Make sure to leave a 5-star review. Make sure to leave a written review. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like this video. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment. Oh, turn notification bells on too. Mariners might make more trades before the end of the deadline. You'll want to know when we put out an episode about it, so turn those notification bells on. And follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube Shorts at Marine Layer Pod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.